Some sitcom moments don't just make you laugh. They become the scenes fans replay, quote, and argue about for years. Malcolm in the Middle built its reputation on pure chaos, brilliant timing, and a family that somehow made dysfunction feel relatable. With life still unfair, bringing the show back into the spotlight now feels like the perfect time to revisit the moments that made this series legendary. From Hal's most ridiculous meltdowns to Reese proving he might actually be the scariest brother on TV, these are the scenes that define the show. Today we're counting down the top 20 legendary Malcolm in the Middle moments every fan should rewatch before the new revival. And trust us, the number one spot might be the single most unforgettable disaster the Wilkerson family ever created. For this list, we're looking at the moments that perfectly captured the chaos, comedy, and character dynamics that made Malcolm in the Middle one of the most iconic sitcoms of the 2000s. Number 20, Malcolm's first fourth wall breakdown. One of the things that instantly made Malcolm in the Middle feel different from every other sitcom was Malcolm talking directly to the audience.
You do this every month. He has sensitive skin. The hair gets itchy under his clothes.
Right from the pilot episode, Malcolm isn't just dealing with a crazy family, he's letting us in on the madness. In this early moment, Malcolm pauses in the middle of the chaos and explains exactly what living in the Wilkerson household is really like. And the brilliance of it is how casual it feels. He isn't narrating like a TV host. He's venting like a kid who desperately needs someone to understand what he's going through. What makes this moment so important is that it sets the tone for the entire series. The audience isn't just watching the family, we're surviving it alongside Malcolm. But if that introduction to the family felt overwhelming, the next moment proves things can get even more out of control. Number 19, Reese accidentally joins the army. By this point in the series, Reese has already established himself as the family's most chaotic wild card. He's impulsive, aggressive, and almost always one bad decision away from disaster. So when he accidentally joins the army, it somehow feels both shocking and completely believable at the same time. The moment starts with Reese trying to escape consequences like he always does. But what begins as another attempt to dodge responsibility spirals into one of the most ridiculous situations the show ever put him in. Suddenly, Reese is standing among actual recruits.
Hop on your left foot, teapot, a bad face!
Realizing far too late that this wasn't just paperwork or a prank. What makes the scene so funny is how perfectly it fits his character. Reese thrives in chaos, but here he's surrounded by people who take discipline seriously, which only makes his reactions even more hilarious.
Okay. If you stop here, I think I can still make it work.
It's one of those classic Malcolm in the Middle setups where a tiny mistake explodes into a life-changing mess. And compared to the next entry, this one almost feels tame. Number 18, Malcolm gets humiliated on the first day of Krellboyne class. Early in the series, Malcolm believes his intelligence is finally going to make life easier. After being placed into the advanced Krellboyne class, he expects to finally be surrounded by students who understand him. But the moment he walks into the classroom, that illusion collapses. Instead of feeling like the smartest kid in school, Malcolm suddenly finds himself surrounded by classmates who are just as brilliant but far stranger than he ever imagined. The Krellboynes start arguing over absurdly specific academic problems, obsessing over tiny details, and completely ignoring normal social behavior. What makes the scene so funny is Malcolm's slow realization that he hasn't escaped weirdness at all. He's just entered a completely different kind of chaos.
Why do they keep doing it? You're new.
It perfectly establishes one of the show's running jokes. Malcolm may be a genius, but being surrounded by other geniuses is somehow even worse. And if Malcolm's school life already felt overwhelming, the next entry shows the Wilkerson family turning a simple day out into total disaster. Number 17, Dewey's babysitter revenge. Dewey often looks like the quiet, harmless youngest brother. But longtime fans know that underneath that innocent face is someone who can be surprisingly clever when pushed too far.
Do you want to play something?
No.
And this moment proves exactly that. When Dewey ends up stuck with an incredibly strict babysitter who clearly enjoys making his life miserable, it seems like he has no way to fight back. At first, he plays along, acting like the obedient kid she expects. But slowly, the situation starts shifting in a way the babysitter never sees coming. Without raising his voice or causing obvious trouble, Dewey quietly turns the entire power dynamic upside down. By the time the situation unravels, the babysitter realizes far too late that she's completely lost control of the situation. What makes the scene so satisfying is how different Dewey's revenge feels compared to his brother's. But Dewey wins with patience and subtle chaos. And if that quiet revenge was satisfying, the next entry proves that when the entire family gets involved, the results are far more explosive. Number 16, Hal battles the bee. Hal's storylines are often hilarious because they start with something tiny and then spiral into full-blown madness. And few moments capture that better than Hal's legendary battle with a single bee. It begins with Hal simply trying to relax outside. But when a bee starts buzzing around him, the situation quickly turns into a personal war. Hal becomes completely fixated on defeating the tiny enemy.
Hey, Uncle! No! Just say it! We can stop this right now with a little dignity if you just say it!
Every movement becomes tactical. Every reaction feels like he's fighting for survival. Meanwhile, the rest of the world sees a grown man losing his mind over an insect. Bryan Cranston plays the entire moment with absolute commitment, which turns the smallest problem imaginable into one of the show's most ridiculous battles. And if Hal losing control over a bee felt chaotic, the next moment proves that when the Wilkerson family start competing, things get far more destructive. Number 15, Lois destroys the clown at the batting cage. If there's one thing every Malcolm in the Middle fan understands, it's this. Lois is the most terrifying parent in sitcom history when she's pushed too far. This moment begins with a pretty harmless family outing to a batting cage. The boys are messing around as usual, trying to enjoy themselves without getting yelled at. But then a clown working at the facility starts mocking Lois and treating the family like a joke. And that's when the entire atmosphere changes. Lois grabs the bat and absolutely unleashes on the pitching machine, smashing baseball after baseball straight at the clown's booth while delivering one of the most intense parental meltdowns in sitcom history. What makes the scene so funny is that everyone instantly knows the clown messed up.
Then why do I even have to ask?
You can practically feel the dread in the room the moment Lois decides she's done being polite. But if you thought that was intense, the next moment proves the Wilkerson family can create chaos even when they're just trying to take a normal family trip. Number 14, the family's water park disaster. By this point in the show, fans already know that whenever the Wilkerson family tries to have a normal outing, it usually ends in total chaos. And the water park episode might be one of the best examples of that formula. What starts as a simple day of fun quickly spirals into a chain reaction of disasters. Malcolm is dealing with humiliation. Reese is causing trouble like usual. Dewey is quietly navigating the madness. And Hal somehow ends up caught in his own ridiculous side adventure. Meanwhile, Lois is doing what Lois always does, trying desperately to maintain control over a situation that is clearly beyond saving. What makes this moment legendary isn't just one gag.
Do you think we're wealthy?
What?
It's how the episode stacks chaos on top of chaos until the entire outing collapses in the most hilarious way possible. This is classic Malcolm in the Middle storytelling, a simple premise that slowly snowballs into complete family meltdown. But compared to what happens in the next entry, this outing almost looks peaceful.
Okay, here it goes.
Number 13, Hal's bodybuilding breakdown. Hal has always had a strange relationship with self-improvement. Whenever he discovers a new hobby or goal, he doesn't just try it casually. He dives in with complete obsessive intensity. And nowhere is that clearer than when Hal suddenly decides he's going to become a bodybuilder.
You out here all day?
As long as those disability checks keep coming.
At first, it seems like a harmless midlife fitness kick. Hal starts lifting weights, talking about discipline, and trying to prove to himself that he still has control over his life. But as the episode unfolds, the obsession gets stranger and stranger. What makes the scene so funny is Bryan Cranston's total commitment. Hal genuinely believes he's transforming into a physical powerhouse, while everyone around him sees a suburban dad spiraling into another bizarre obsession. It's the kind of character-driven comedy the show did better than almost any sitcom. But if you thought Hal losing control was funny, the next moment proves the brothers can create even bigger disasters when they work together. Number 12, the boys destroy the babysitter's house. Whenever Malcolm, Reese, and Dewey are left unsupervised, fans know one thing is guaranteed. Something is going to go very, very wrong. In this moment, the boys are left under the watch of a babysitter who clearly thinks she can control them. At first, everything seems calm, but slowly, the situation begins unraveling in the most Wilkerson way possible.
What do you do when you've got an incredible woman in your bedroom?
One small act of rebellion leads to another. A prank turns into a chain reaction. And before long, the house is descending into complete chaos. Furniture gets wrecked, rules are ignored, and the babysitter realizes far too late that keeping these three under control is basically impossible. What makes the scene work so well is how perfectly it captures the brothers' dynamic. Malcolm thinks he's smarter than everyone, Reese thrives in destruction, and Dewey quietly adds fuel to the fire. It's pure sibling chaos. But as wild as that moment was, the next entry shows what happens when Malcolm's intelligence finally backfires in the worst way possible. Number 11, Malcolm's Krellboyne meltdown. For most of the series, Malcolm's biggest advantage is his intelligence. Being placed in the Krellboyne class makes him one of the smartest kids in school. But it also puts him in a group where everyone else is just as brilliant, and sometimes even weirder.
Now, who would like to sink their teeth into some Bernoulli equations?
In this moment, Malcolm finally reaches his breaking point. The Krellboynes start turning a simple school situation into something ridiculously overcomplicated, obsessing over details, theories, and bizarre academic debates.
School used to be the one place where you were truly happy, and Hercule has taken that away from you.
Instead of feeling like the smartest kid in the room, Malcolm suddenly feels trapped inside a world of non-stop intellectual chaos, and eventually he snaps. Malcolm realizes that being surrounded by geniuses doesn't actually make life easier. It just creates a completely different kind of madness. It's a perfect example of the show using Malcolm's intelligence as both a gift and a curse. But from this point on, the list starts getting even bigger because the next moments aren't just funny, they're legendary. Number 10, Reese becomes a culinary genius. For most of the show, Reese is known for exactly two things: causing trouble and barely passing school. So when an episode suddenly reveals he has a hidden talent for cooking, it catches everyone completely off guard. It starts when Reese stumbles into a home economics class and accidentally discovers he's incredibly good at preparing food.
Slowly pull back as we... Who chopped that?
I did.
At first, the family assumes it's another one of Reese's random phases. But very quickly it becomes clear this isn't a fluke.
Oh my word?
Reese starts cooking dishes that shock teachers, classmates, and eventually his own family. The reactions are priceless because nobody, including Reese himself, expected him to be capable of something this refined. What makes the moment so memorable is how it flips the character dynamic. For once, Reese isn't the family screw-up. He's the one with a genuine skill. And if that character surprise felt big, the next entry shows what happens when Malcolm's intelligence pushes him into one of the most humiliating situations of his life. Number 9, Malcolm's public humiliation at the academic competition. Malcolm spends most of the series believing that his intelligence is his greatest advantage. Being smarter than everyone else usually helps him solve problems. But this moment proves it can also create some of the most painful situations imaginable.
In case you're wondering, they're only at 92 bodies.
During a high-level academic competition, Malcolm walks in confident that he's going to dominate the event. After all, this is his world.
We were ready to grab your ankles if you got too far up there.
Logic, trivia, and fast thinking are exactly where he shines. But as the competition unfolds, Malcolm realizes he isn't the smartest person in the room anymore. Surrounded by other gifted students, his usual confidence starts cracking. Then one mistake turns into another, and suddenly the whole room is watching as Malcolm completely unravels.
If you're not here within the next 3 hours, you can find me walking on the highway, in the dark. Or maybe I'll hitchhike. You know, I met this guy with a van. He seemed real friendly.
What makes this scene so memorable is the mixture of comedy and secondhand embarrassment. Malcolm's frustration grows while the audience can see the disaster coming long before he does. It's one of those moments where the show perfectly balances humor with painful realism. And compared to what's coming next, Malcolm's humiliation almost looks minor. Number 8, Hal's painting obsession. Hal has a long history of discovering hobbies and turning them into full-blown life missions. But his sudden obsession with painting might be one of the funniest examples of that pattern. At first, it starts as a simple creative outlet. Hal picks up a paintbrush and discovers he enjoys it. But like every Hal storyline, the hobby escalates fast. Soon he's painting constantly, filling the house with canvases, ignoring responsibilities, and becoming completely consumed by his new artistic identity. What makes the scene so great is the way the family reacts. Lois immediately sees the warning signs that Hal is spiraling again, while the boys watch with the kind of fascination you only get when you know a meltdown is coming.
You know, really get it out there.
Yeah. Good for you boys.
Bryan Cranston plays the entire arc with absolute sincerity, which makes the obsession even funnier. It's another perfect reminder that Hal doesn't just try things, he dives into them like his entire life depends on it. But if Hal losing himself in painting felt chaotic, the next entry proves the Wilkerson brothers together are far more dangerous. Number 7. Malcolm and Reese's Backyard War. Few sitcoms captured sibling rivalry quite like Malcolm in the Middle, and this moment between Malcolm and Reese shows just how far their battles could escalate. It starts with something small, like most of their arguments do. A disagreement turns into insults.
What do you want? I just want to let you know you're not getting last licks.
The insults turn into sabotage, and before long the backyard becomes the battlefield for one of their most ridiculous wars. Both brothers begin setting traps, launching attacks, and trying to outsmart each other in ways that grow increasingly elaborate. Malcolm relies on strategy and planning, while Reese brings pure destructive energy to the fight. What makes the scene so memorable is how perfectly it captures their dynamic. Malcolm thinks he's the smarter one, Reese thinks he's the tougher one, and somehow they both end up making the situation far worse. By the time the conflict reaches its peak, the entire house is basically collateral damage. But if that sibling rivalry looked intense, the next moment proves the family chaos only gets bigger from here. Number 6. Hal's Dance Dance Revolution domination. Hal has a long history of becoming strangely competitive over the most unexpected things. But when he discovers the arcade game Dance Dance Revolution, it unleashes one of the most unforgettable Hal moments in the entire series. At first, it looks like harmless curiosity. Hal steps onto the machine just to try it out. But within seconds, the music starts blasting, the arrows begin flying, and suddenly, Hal transforms into an unstoppable dance machine. What follows is pure physical comedy. Hal moves with shocking precision, hitting every step perfectly while other players gather around in disbelief. Bryan Cranston commits completely to the performance, turning what could have been a simple joke into a full-blown spectacle. The reason fans love this moment is the surprise. Hal, the same dad who usually panics over everyday life, suddenly dominates an arcade like a professional. And if you thought Hal stealing the spotlight was impressive, the next moment proves the Wilkerson family chaos is only just getting started. And if you love revisiting classic sitcom moments like these, make sure you're subscribed to Sitcom Central, because we've got more countdowns on the funniest, most chaotic, and most unforgettable TV moments coming up. Number 5. Hal's Poker Night Breakdown. Poker night is supposed to be one of the few moments where Hal gets to relax with his friends. No kids causing chaos, no Lois yelling across the house. Just a quiet evening of cards and friendly competition. At least that's the plan. But like most things in Hal's life, the situation slowly begins slipping out of control. What starts as a casual game quickly turns into Hal becoming completely obsessed with winning. His confidence rises, his trash talk gets louder, and suddenly the whole room feels like it's watching a man spiral in real time.
Two.
Oh, ouch! Just twice a week.
Oh, per week? Oh, then 14.
The comedy here comes from how seriously Hal takes the game. Every card feels like life or death, and Bryan Cranston plays the intensity perfectly. By the end of the night, Hal's emotional roller coaster turns what should have been a calm evening into total sitcom chaos. It's a classic Hal meltdown. But if you thought Hal losing control was entertaining, the next moment shows Lois delivering one of the most unforgettable parenting speeches in sitcom history. Number 4. Lois's "Because I Said So" speech. Few characters in sitcom history commanded authority quite like Lois. And this moment might be the single best example of why the Wilkerson kids feared crossing her more than anything else.
I want a straight answer. Who did this?
Malcolm did it. Reese did it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
The scene starts with the boys challenging Lois, demanding an explanation for one of her strict rules. Malcolm, being Malcolm, insists on logic. He wants a reason, something rational, something that makes sense. For a brief moment, it actually seems like Lois might try to explain herself. But then comes the line every fan remembers.
Therefore, you have forced me to do something terrible. Say goodbye to a cherished family member.
Lois shuts the entire argument down with the ultimate parental answer, "Because I said so." What makes the scene legendary isn't just the line itself.
In your room now.
It's the build-up. Malcolm believes he's winning the argument until Lois completely flips the power dynamic in one sentence. It perfectly captures the show's core dynamic. Malcolm may be the genius, but Lois always controls the room. The next entry shows the family creating one of the most chaotic disasters the show ever aired. Number 3, Hal's power walking breakdown. Hal's power walking obsession is one of those moments. It starts like many Hal storylines do, with him discovering a new activity and becoming completely invested in it. But this time, the obsession turns into competitive power walking, and Hal approaches it with the intensity of a professional athlete. Soon, he's training constantly, buying specialized gear, and treating every walk like a championship race. What makes the scene unforgettable is watching Hal move with absolute seriousness, while everyone around him realizes how ridiculous the situation actually is. Bryan Cranston commits fully to the bit.
No one would discover your dirty little secret, didn't you? That clever little flail of the wrist every 4 steps, masking the hop.
Turning what should be a simple joke into one of the show's most memorable physical comedy sequences. Fans still bring up this moment whenever discussing Hal's most iconic episodes, and somehow, even that level of chaos wasn't enough to take the #1 spot. Number 2. The family's explosive Christmas morning. Few scenes capture the spirit of Malcolm in the Middle better than the family's completely disastrous Christmas morning.
No, too far. Go back. Back. There.
The setup feels familiar to anyone who watched the show. The boys are excited, Lois is already on edge, and Hal is desperately trying to keep the peace. For a brief moment, it actually looks like the family might survive the holiday without something going horribly wrong. Within minutes, the situation spirals into accusations, arguments, and absolute chaos. The boys start blaming each other. Gifts become weapons in the argument, and Hal finds himself caught in the middle of another family meltdown. What makes this scene so iconic is how perfectly it captures the show's core idea. This family loves each other deeply. They just express it through non-stop chaos.
You want to cancel Christmas? You're bluffing.
It's loud, messy, and completely unforgettable. And yet, even this legendary meltdown couldn't take the top spot. Because the #1 moment didn't just make fans laugh, it became one of the most iconic scenes in sitcom history. Number 1, Hal's roller skating routine. Some sitcom scenes are funny in the moment. Others become legendary the second they air. And Hal's roller skating routine is one of those rare moments that fans still talk about years later. The setup is simple. Malcolm and his friends discover that Hal secretly works at a roller skating rink. At first, it seems like a random side job, nothing unusual. Hal glides onto the rink and suddenly transforms into something nobody expected. What follows is a full-blown skating routine filled with spins, choreography, and movements that look way too professional for a suburban dad who usually can't keep his life together. These were some of the most legendary Malcolm in the Middle moments worth rewatching before the new revival. But with a show this chaotic, there are way too many classics to fit into one list. So now we want to hear from you. Which moment would you have put at #1? And what other Malcolm in the Middle scenes deserve a spot on this list? And if you want more countdowns, revisiting the funniest, most awkward, and most iconic sitcom moments ever made, make sure you're subscribed to Sitcom Central. This is our first video on this new channel, and we would love you to join us on this journey. Make sure to turn on post notification too if you are a die-hard sitcom fan.